Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 138 based on novel. So let's start. The cave residence rented by Emperor Ching was located within the inner city of Ulan City. From the outside, it appeared ordinary, but upon entering, its internal space was tens of thousands of times larger. Luo Feng and the three of them entered together. "I'll divide the space first," Emperor Ching said. Instantly, the vast internal space was divided naturally. Two small spaces were allocated in the corners, leaving a central public courtyard, while the remaining space was split into two halves. "You can decide how to construct your internal spaces," Emperor Ching said. "I choose the one on the left," someone said. "Then I'll choose the right," said another. Emperor Ming and Emperor Fu, who had no spaces of their own, voluntarily chose the two small spaces in the corners. Not needing to pay any fees while being under the protection of Emperor Ching and Luo He, which is also considered to be shelter. What else can I ask for? They knew clearly that without Emperor Ching and Luo He, their survival in the city would be 100 or even 1,000 times harder. "I'll send you a detailed information on Ulan City. Study it carefully," Emperor Ching said before heading to his portion of the space. Emperor Ming, Emperor Fu, and Luo Feng also each entered their respective spaces. "This place isn't bad," Emperor Ming remarked as he sensed the energy absorption rate. "It can reach 30% of my maximum absorption speed. Not bad at all. My strength is currently stuck at a bottleneck, and my energy needs are low. Only during rapid growth phases do we absorb energy at the maximum rate. Once we reach the limit, we only absorb enough to sustain ourselves," another replied. "The space is quite large." Luo Feng looked at the vast space, and with a thought, energy gathered, naturally began to form many palaces and pavilions such as the 9-grid nearsighted guest reception hall. He then stepped to the highest point of the pavilion, happily took out a jug of wine, and while drinking, studied the information about Ulan City. Ulan City was established by cultivators and was governed by the Elders Hall. Currently, the Elders Hall had 3 Hall Masters and 327 Elders. To become an Elder, one had to reach the late stage of God Emperor realm with comprehension of the Tao or stands at the half-chaotic origin level. Once someone could activate part of Ulan City's defensive system, they would qualify as an Elder. If their activation capability was exceptionally high, they could even become a Hall Master. Luo Feng reviewed the information in detail. Every Elder must enhance the city's defense capabilities. The Elders Hall truly contributes significantly. Luo Feng carefully read the detailed information. Once becoming a member of the Elder Hall, one needs to reside permanently in Ulan City to ensure the city's defense. They cannot leave Ulan City even a step, and those who can become members of the Elder Hall have the strength to go to the Darkness Sacred World. The greatest desire of any half-chaotic origin expert is to jump out of their cage. Only in the Darkness Sacred World are there more opportunities to jump out of the cage. Yet, the members of the Elder Hall remain in the 9 Rivers Sacred World, not even stepping out of Ulan City. So, those who can become members of the Elder Hall generally have clones. They leave one clone here, while their other clones have already gone to the Darkness Sacred World. Luo Feng guessed. The fact that they have clones also indicates something. The core members of Ulan City's ruling Elders Hall likely originate from the origin world. Luo Feng deduced much information. The experts of billions of worlds do not have clones. Once strong enough, few are willing to stay in the 9 Rivers Sacred World forever. In Ulan City, every cultivator must pay 1 chaotic origin crystal per era to reside here, and they also need a place to stay. All accommodations in the city are only available for rent, Luo Feng realized. These rental fees served as Ulan City's primary revenue source. The funds were used to support law enforcement cultivators, maintain the city's defensive systems, and the remainder was distributed among the 3 Hall Masters and 327 Elders. This income must be substantial to attract these powerhouses to keep their clones here long-term. In Ulan City, those below the God Emperor level are the mainstream, numbering in the hundreds of millions. There are millions at the God Emperor level. Luo Feng looked at the information. Those of the enlightenment path who can comprehend the complete Great Tao generally find it not too difficult to become God Emperors. However, those relying on bloodlines may seem to grow easily, but their growth height depends on their bloodline. If the bloodline is not strong enough, they might be stuck at the ultimate God King. Ulan City has intelligence networks that sell information on all God Emperors, which he cannot afford. Moreover, the information collected on God Emperors cannot be truly comprehensive. For example, Luo Feng just arrived in Ulan City, so naturally, there is no detailed information about him outside. Brother Luo He, Emperor Ching's voice called from the entrance to Luo Feng's space. Brother Emperor Ching, Luo Feng replied, opening the entrance. The information about God Emperor in Ulan City is quite expensive, isn't it? Emperor Ching entered with a smile. But even so, it only covers about 90% of the God Emperors because there are always those who quietly break through and, without actively revealing themselves, are hard to track. Additionally, the intelligence sold only records what can be discovered. Many God Emperors have hidden methods. But no matter what, you don't need to buy it in the short term. However, over time, it's best to buy a copy. Buying a copy of the information will let you know how many terrifying beings are hidden in Ulan City and who not to provoke, Emperor Ching said. Luo Feng understood. This information is expensive and also contains a forbidden technique called Star Daylight, which is not allowed to be passed on, Emperor Ching said. So, I can't pass it on to you. Luo Feng also understood how difficult it must be to gather intelligence on so many God Emperors in the entire city. If just a few copies were sold and spread throughout the city, the intelligence organization would suffer massive losses. Ulan City has a wide variety of commercial and trade resources, Emperor Ching said. Everything here requires chaotic origin crystals. I'll lend you 100,000 chaotic origin crystals first. After our hunt, you can pay me back. As he spoke, Emperor Ching waved his hand, and a pile of 100,000 chaotic origin crystals appeared nearby, resembling a dazzling little mountain. Seeing this, Luo Feng felt genuinely moved. Emperor Ching had already provided a free place to live in the cave residence, even splitting half the space with him. If one were to calculate the cost, half of the rental fee for 1,000 epochs would amount to 5 million chaotic origin crystals, which was essentially a gift to him. Now, Emperor Ching was lending him even more. Luo Feng had just arrived in Ulan City and was at his poorest. Thank you, Brother Emperor Ching, Luo Feng said simply. We've just arrived in the Nine Rivers Sacred World, and this is when we need chaotic origin crystals the most. With them, we can purchase sufficient resources to strengthen ourselves. Emperor Ching smiled. By the way, when you go out to buy resources, remember one thing. His tone suddenly became serious. Always carry fewer chaotic origin crystals at a time. In Ulan City, as long as there's enough temptation, killings, robberies, and thefts can happen at any time. Even if you have life-saving treasures and methods, losing them would still be a significant loss. I understand, Luo Feng nodded. After all, the intelligence he had received earlier had detailed records. Killings and robberies occasionally occurred, while theft and fraud, which didn't involve life-threatening situations, were more common because the official punishments weren't too severe. Carrying fewer crystals would mean that even if he were robbed, it would be like paying a tuition fee. Emperor Ching sighed. The theft methods in Ulan City are incredibly diverse, spanning all kinds of cultivation systems with techniques you've likely never seen before. After familiarizing himself with the intelligence, Luo Feng left the cave dwelling alone to explore the city where he would be rooted for a long time. Ulan City. Following Emperor Ching's advice, Luo Feng was very cautious and only carried 5,000 chaotic origin crystals. With my 5 clones fully prepared, I don't believe I can't protect these 5,000 chaotic origin crystals. Luo Feng was extremely careful. He didn't bring any secret treasures with him. The most valuable thing he carried was the 5,000 chaotic origin crystals. This time, when coming to the Nine Rivers Sacred World, Luo Feng's energy reserves reached 1,200 times that of a perfect divine body. In contrast, the energy reserves left in his home continent, the origin continent, were minimal. However, back home, he was already invincible, and the energy reserves left in his clones were sufficient. The 1,200 times energy reserves were distributed among his 5 clones, each with 200 times the energy reserves of a perfect divine body, allowing them to maintain an extreme state of readiness. Buzz. As Luo Feng left the cave residence, the entirety of Ulan City lit up in vibrant colors, with various protective systems enveloping the area. These systems were controlled by the 3 Hall Masters and 327 Elders of the Elders' Hall. Invisible and colorless fluctuations swept through the city regularly. One such wave lightly scanned over Luo Feng. At the core of the inner city was a grand cave residence. Deep within it sat a figure bathed in radiant light, his entire body seemingly forged from light, his expression emotionless. At the center of his forehead was a red, diamond-shaped gemstone. Within the gemstone, a living entity was rapidly processing an immense amount of information. Countless data points on the God Emperors in the city were being collected and analyzed. Among the newly arrived figures was Luo Feng, recorded as residing in the Qianshui district, cave residence 99179 in Ulan City's inner city. His strength was suspected to be at the God Emperor level. Moreover, he was noted to be sharing a cave residence with Emperor Ching, suggesting they came from the same origin world. This bit of information was now part of the collected data. Simultaneously, this information was transmitted to another mysterious entity. In a massive cave residence within Ulan City's inner city, there resided a gigantic spherical creature. The surface of this sphere occasionally revealed countless faces, some howling, some asleep, some filled with hatred, and others laughing maniacally. On the sphere's surface were numerous densely packed holes, with countless figures entering and exiting through them. Luo Feng, the newly arrived God Emperor, was able to live in the same place as Emperor Ching, so he probably wasn't poor. Let this newcomer experience the customs of our Ulan City. He's likely from the most common Dao comprehension system. Let him try the power of other systems. Mo Yada, this one is yours, a command was quickly issued. Whoosh! A short figure flew out from one of the countless holes on the spherical creature's surface. The newcomer, a God Emperor, was targeted. The short figure let out a strange laugh. At this moment, his organization had already locked onto Luo Feng. As long as Luo Feng was in a public area within the city, he couldn't hide. Suddenly, the short figure rushed straight to where Luo Feng was. The merchants of Ulan City are mainly located in the inner city. Shortly after Luo Feng left his cave residence, he arrived at a nearby merchant. The interior of the merchant space was vast, with numerous independent spaces. Each independent space contained the remains of low-level chaotic origin life forms on display. Esteemed guest, the waiter took the initiative to greet him. I'll take a look first, Luo Feng said, not in a hurry to purchase. He planned to explore the entire city before making any purchases. The waiter smiled and said, esteemed guest, our merchant specializes in the remains of low-level chaotic origin life forms. These remains can be used for cultivation and comprehension. Some larger remains can also be used for refining weapons, medicines, or for body tempering, and even for extracting complete chaotic origin bloodlines. There are quite a lot of remains, Luo Feng remarked as he looked at the densely packed independent spaces. Over a dozen waiters were stationed throughout, and formations were also in operation. We have a total of 11,341 types of remains here, all from low-level chaotic origin life forms, the waiter beside him continued. Our collection covers at least 70% of the low-level chaotic origin races in the Nine Rivers Sacred World. Luo Feng's bionic eye of annihilation on his forehead had already opened, carefully observing each piece of remains. The cultivators of Ulan City had various methods of observation, and as long as they didn't break into the independent spaces to grab the remains, the waiters wouldn't mind no matter how they observed. The innate chaotic origin life form, Black Cloud Devouring Void Beast, is relatively weak, with strength at the early stage God Emperor level, Luo Feng observed. Here, 12 parts of the Black Cloud Devouring Void Beast were on sale. Items like a single scale, a bone, or a bottle of blood were suitable for cultivation and comprehension, with each piece priced between 100 to 500 chaotic origin crytals. However, a massive complete claw, a large whale-like body part, and a refined complete bloodline were priced at 20,000 chaotic origin crytals each. The most valuable item was its intact life core, which cost 100,000 chaotic origin crytals. The life core of this innate chaotic origin life form is actually intact. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised. Innate chaotic origin life forms have life cores, much like how Origin World has Origin Land. The life core is akin to the origin core of an innate chaotic origin life form. Once destroyed, they will die, which is also the most common method of killing them. It is rare to kill them while preserving the life core. Such an innate chaotic origin life form has been disassembled and sold, Luo Feng silently lamented. Its bloodline extracted, used for refining medicines, weapons, its uses are varied. But this is also normal. Cultivators grope in the dark for their path of cultivation, and the best way to jump out of the cage is to study these innate chaotic origin life forms that have already jumped out. Luo Feng wandered around one store after another. No matter which store he went to, because Luo Feng had reached the life breath of the early stage God Emperor, the waiters of these businesses were very enthusiastic. Weapons and secret treasures. Luo Feng also saw the prices of various secret treasures. For example, those early-stage God Emperor level secret treasures were generally meant for those at the ultimate level of God King. Luo Feng's casual strike was far more powerful than those treasures, and the prices of such treasures usually started at 2,000 chaotic origin crytals. The prices of middle-stage God Emperor, late-stage God Emperor, and perfect God Emperor level weapons and secret treasures naturally skyrocketed. As for innate secret treasures, their prices were even higher. Turns out I'm actually rich, Luo Feng thought to himself, surprised at the prices of innate secret treasures, realizing the value of the innate secret treasure, Palm World. Of course, this treasure was used to protect the Blade River sect on one hand, and on the other hand, his own strength was still too weak, making it unsuitable to bring into the Nine Rivers Sacred World. In the Nine Rivers Sacred World, no matter which city you're in, theft, killing, robbery, and looting are all present. The waiter said, this space-type secret treasure, illusory world labyrinth, can be integrated into your body. Treasures stored within it are nearly impossible to steal in the Nine Rivers Sacred World. Almost all powerful God Emperors possess one. Luo Feng looked at the treasure and asked, what's the price? Not expensive, 100,000 chaotic origin crytals per piece. It's the same price throughout the Nine Rivers Sacred World, the waiter smiled. Luo Feng turned and left. Most God Emperors with some accumulated wealth could afford it, but Luo Feng had just arrived in the Nine Rivers Sacred World. The 100,000 chaotic origin crytals he had were borrowed from Emperor Ching. Why would he spend it on a spatial storage item just to prevent theft? There are also many treasures to aid cultivation. Luo Feng looked at the various rare items. The rare items of the Nine Rivers Sacred World were all extracted from the bodies of innate chaotic origin life forms. Consuming them could aid cultivation, with effects far surpassing chaotic origin crytals. However, the better the rare treasure, the higher the price. This secret treasure is called Formless Divine Weapon. It can inscribe any type of secret pattern. As long as the secret text is engraved accurately, it can immediately imitate any kind of secret treasure. With it, you can try to engrave one secret treasure after another, allowing you to switch and change at any time, the waiter enthusiastically explained. It's suitable for both combat and verifying cultivation insights. Luo Feng was tempted. He could try to record his insights into the life-death eye of the Star Tower and the deep dense secret patterns. What's the price? Luo Feng asked. 50 million chaotic origin crytals per piece, the waiter grinned, quoting a figure that made Luo Feng's heart tremble. That's more expensive than many innate secret treasures, Luo Feng couldn't help but say. Many perfect God Emperor level treasures only cost a few million. With this amount of chaotic origin crytals, you could buy an entire set of perfect God Emperor level treasures. The waiter smiled and said, many of those powerful God Emperors possessed world-class chaotic origin lifeform remains. By comprehending the mysteries within these remains and engrave them into the formless divine weapon, they can verify their own insights. This is something that a set of perfect God Emperor level treasures cannot compare to. Luo Feng sighed inwardly. The temptations were too many. There were auxiliary rare items, remains of innate chaotic origin life forms suitable for life, destruction, or even the combination of life and destruction, as well as various suitable secret treasures. Luo Feng saw many of them. But he was too poor. No rush. On the first day, I'll simply explore Ulan City. I'll start making purchases on the second day, Luo Feng thought patiently. He wasn't in a hurry, one day wouldn't make a difference. He noticed that famous treasures like the formless divine weapon and the illusory world labyrinth had uniform prices across many merchants. However, the prices of some remains varied between merchants, with some willing to sell at lower prices. Luo Feng needed to figure out how to purchase cultivation resources suitable for him at the lowest possible cost. Poor, too poor. Let alone 100,000 chaotic origin crytals, even 100 million chaotic origin crytals wouldn't be enough for me, Luo Feng thought as he flew through Ulan City. Looking around, he saw a large number of cultivators. Luo Feng didn't notice a short figure in the distance. The short figure, upon seeing Luo Feng from afar, couldn't help but chuckle. Luo Feng? A newly arrived early-stage god emperor? The short figure's mind stirred, and he immediately took action. Luo Feng was flying above the inner city. The inner city was a place where dragons and tigers hid, hundreds of elders resided here, constantly maintaining Ulan City's defense systems. The operation of these defense systems made Luo Feng feel pressured. Whoosh! It was as if a gust of wind brushed past Luo Feng. What was that? Luo Feng was puzzled. It seemed like a gust of wind, but Luo Feng vaguely felt something was off. It felt like someone made a move on me, but also like nothing happened. Luo Feng himself wasn't sure. He frowned slightly, looking around and becoming even more vigilant. The short figure in the distance was quite surprised. This newcomer doesn't seem like a traditional Dao comprehension cultivator. He feels more like a low-level chaotic origin life form, having refined his body into a world body, with a hidden world inside him where he stores his treasures. Although chaotic origin bloodline cultivators might have more explosive combat power and stronger physical bodies, their control over themselves wasn't as perfect. Luo Feng's body gave him the feeling of a complete, vast world. His secret techniques and moves, while maintaining concealment, swept through Luo Feng's body but couldn't forcefully penetrate a world. You think hiding it in a world will stop me? The short figure sneered coldly. He opened his mouth, and a blood-red insect flew out. Good baby, enter his world and seize all his treasures, the short figure commanded with a thought. The blood-red insect took action again. Stealthy theft had failed. Now, it was time for forceful theft. With a whoosh, the blood-red insect instantly vanished, ignoring the obstacles of Luo Feng's physical body, and burrowed into Luo Feng's inner world. Luo Feng, who was in mid-air and on high alert, immediately sensed something. In his home continent, the Origin continent, he had refined 9 chaotic origin bloodline life forms and selected 5 of them as his clones to deal with various dangers in the 9 Rivers sacred world. The clone he normally displayed to the outside world was the world clone. This clone had thick skin, immense strength, tenacious vitality, and could handle many adverse situations. This clone had an inner world and was most similar to the original world life form, allowing it to grow stronger and more powerful. Thus, the world clone had 100 times the energy reserves of a perfect divine body, while the other 4 clones had relatively lower energy reserves. TSK. An invisible fluctuation instantly entered the inner world, and the inner world naturally detected it. The stronger the world clone, the more stable the inner world became. Quite stable, but unfortunately, my treasure is most adept at devouring space. The blood-red insect instantly erupted, sending a wave of fluctuation throughout the inner world, attempting to seize all the treasures within. Inside the inner world, the other 4 clones sat cross-legged. Each of these clones resembled Luo Feng, differing only in the color of their robes. HMPH. The Heaven and Earth clone let out a cold snort. In an instant, the Heaven and Earth clone completely dispersed and merged with the entire inner world. Unity with Heaven and Earth. The world's membrane became like the skin and flesh of the Heaven and Earth clone. The mysteries of the Heaven and Earth clone perfectly merged with the inner world, causing its power to skyrocket. The The blood-red insect felt that the already terrifying inner world had suddenly increased its pressure and binding force by more than 10 times. For him, it was like going from moving freely in water to being stuck in glue, completely immobilized. His inner world has no treasures? The blood-red insect activated its secret technique, sweeping through the entire inner world, only to find it still empty. Trying to steal? The remaining 3 clones in the inner world stared at it. The 5,000 chaotic origin crytals were carried by the time clone. The time clone existed simultaneously in the past, present, and future. The 5,000 chaotic origin crytals were stored in the time clone's future self. I've hidden these 5,000 chaotic origin crytals in my inner world, guarded by the time clone, and stored in the time clone's future self. The inner world is also protected by the heaven and earth clone. If even this can be stolen, then I have nothing to say. Consider it tuition fees, Luophone thought. Having been warned earlier, he was naturally very cautious and vigilant. Who said he was a traditional Dao comprehension cultivator? Seeing the situation turn unfavorable, the blood-red insect instantly hid and vanished. Bang! He slammed into the inner world's membrane but failed to get out. After the inner world merged with the heaven and earth clone, the membrane's strength had increased more than 10 times. Oh no, I can get in, but I can't get out. The blood-red insect immediately realized things had gone wrong. This video will end here.